Nicky, thank you for having us today. I hope you're well.
Pleasure.
The Cheltenham Festival this year looks really competitive, as always. You seem to be the leading light, having two clear favourites for the anti-post markets. Is that pressure to you with all the Irish coming over?
Well, it's not pressure. I mean, you'd rather have the favourite than be 20-1. So I think you're pleased to be in the position that people obviously agree that we've got a good chance. A Constitution Hill pressure is a different ball game. I think he's got, when you're as short as he is, you do feel everybody thinks something's going to happen, where there's an awful lot of other things that can too.
Of course. Well, let's stick with Constitution Hill then. He's had 2 starts this season. How have you found those compared to his maybe 2023 campaign?
I think the only difference was that at the Christmas hurdle, I was prepared myself, I suspect, that he could easily be beaten by Lossiemouth, who'd had a run. We haven't run for 365 days, and we thought we were getting there, but we were a long way from the finished article. I thought he could easily get beaten that day, and so the net result was terrific. Cheltenham, there was an awful lot to lose and very little to gain from running him, but I think we owed it to everybody to come out again, because he'd been missing for a year, and the crowd at Kempton were fantastic. So we said we'd go to the Unibet hurdle, and he was stupid at the last, but everybody would probably remember him for that. But the crowd was fantastic, and I think it gave me a lot of pleasure to see that a horse can be loved quite as much as that. It's great for national hunt racing. Great day.
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask you about that last flight. Obviously, it was a bit touch and go, heart and mouth in the Unibet hurdle, but also maybe in the Champion hurdle 2 years prior, there was a gasp from the crowd at least. Is there something that maybe he doesn't like about the hurdle, or is it maybe his confidence? Is he maybe a bit too confident at some?
Well, exactly. I don't know. But the only good thing is that on both occasions, he was still so in his comfort zone. He's full of it. He's still very strong. He wasn't tired. He was still on the bridle. So he has the strength. A lot of horses would have fallen because they would be tired. They get away with it if it's early in a race. But he still had that sort of, his body was strong. When he stood off too far in the Champion hurdle, his ability there is to actually, in mid-flight, actually go up. Not a lot of horses that I know can do that, but he suddenly realised he'd got it wrong, in which case he had to do something about it. I don't know what he did, sprout wings, but it seemed like it. The last time, well, it was a silly mistake, sort of mistake you want to see on the schooling ground. Get it out of the vocabulary. And hopefully, he will have a school before he goes there, but hopefully, I don't want him doing that, whether it's at home or on the racecourse.
No, of course. And from one superstar to another, Jonbon is the anti-post favourite for the Queen Mother Champion Chase. Obviously, it's the only course that he's been beaten at 3 times. Is that a coincidence to you that it's the only course that he's been beaten at? Or is there maybe other tracks that suit him more, like a Sandown? Well,
he loves Sandown. You were good at Ascot the other day. But he's won the Schlur the last 2 years, so it's not that he can't go around Cheltenham.
Is it maybe that it's a track that suits other horses, maybe, that bring him more to his level?
I hope not. I don't think so. I mean, the times that he did get beaten there were legitimate excuses. We're not trying to just make them up. Things weren't right, but one was a stupid mistake coming down the hill. I mean, any horse could do that in any race. It shows how good he was to nearly get back and win from that situation, because that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a phenomenal horse this whole career. Is it maybe that we're seeing the best of Jonbon this year?
I think he has been particularly good in all 3 starts. The Schlur was his prep for the Tingle Creek, which takes him in nicely to the Clarence House. We're following the pattern, as they say. Not very difficult, but yeah, I think he's been as good as I've ever seen him. Sandown he loves, in that celebration chase, he loves going around there. Tingle Creek was the same.
And then from maybe current superstars to future superstars, Lulamba looks a really nice prospect, making his debut at Ascot. Is it a worry that you're going into the Triumph Hurdle having just had one run in Britain under your trainership?
At the time when he wanted Ascot, we said, why would we need to do that again? We don't, and he's young, and we'll just keep him, probably just have a couple more runs. It is just possible. I was thinking about the Adonis at Kempton. We have left Lulamba in as well as Palladium, and then we're both going to do a bit of work tomorrow, so we'll see which way that goes and see which one I think will benefit the most from running again.
Yeah, and we spoke to his groom earlier today. He seemed to be really excited about his future prospect, the fact that he'll continue to develop, to continue to grow. Is he potentially a Sergino or a Shishkin type for the Donnellys, where he'll become a future chaser?
Well, we always hope that they'll do that. Sergino obviously moved over for a number of reasons to go chasing. And the principal one, the way when we schooled him over fences, having just thought of the idea that if Constitution Hill is in good shape, Joe's also got State Man in the wings waiting to take on Constitution Hill. Why would you want Sergino in there as well? We'll flip him into chasing. Then we tried him over fences, and then we did get the answer.
Yeah.
Phew. And it's something else.
Yeah.
And you saw it at Kempton. He's got some way of crossing a fence that's unbelievable. We saw that here, and that said, right, go on, you've got to go and get on with it.
So it takes a special horse a special 4-year-old going 5 to go chasing.
And it's interesting to see that, well, now the favourite, JP's horse that won the Triumph Hurdle.
So the other juvenile Palladium, as you mentioned, won the German Guineas. Is he going to take his chance in the Triumph Hurdle?
I think he probably will, yeah. I don't see why not. I mean, he is there he will be going flat racing again. He won the German Derby. You know, you'd like to think he's an international flat horse, really. But he's there to, I was pleased with him at Huntington. He won that well, jumped well. He enjoys it. So we could go either way. He'll go flat racing pretty shortly. Yeah.
So let's move into the Stayers Hurdle, Lucky Place. You spoke about him earlier today and seemed to have a bit of a beaming smile on your face. He's quite unexposed at the division. Obviously hasn't run 3 miles before. How do you think he can put it up to the likes of the Irish and current champion T. Hooper?
Probably of the English horses, he's probably done enough to say I'm entitled to fly the flag. We didn't try him over 3 intentionally because he'd have had to go on to the 3 mile on trials day, fine. But I just didn't show that he needed to do it. If you go and get a hard race over 3 miles then and you've got 5 weeks to go, not sure that was just the right thing for him. I would rather figure, well, look, we think you'll stay. You've got to find out one day. We'll find out. We might as well find out in the champion one rather than the prep one.
100%.
If it hadn't worked in the prep, well, where were you going to go then? Okay, wait for Aintree, but no, I think there is a question mark over stamina only because he's unproven over it. But I think there's every good reason to think he'll stay. He stayed very well the last 2 times over 2.5.
And one that won't have any problem with stamina at the Cheltenham Festival is Django Bay in the Arkle. He's clearly a probably 2.5 mile horse rather than a 2 miler. So
yeah.
Horses with stamina tend to have a fairly decent record in the Arkle, so he goes there with a chance.
Of course you need to stay. You're not going to get back up that hill at the gallop they're going to go. At least we assume they will, and I mean, if not, why wouldn't he go and push it along anyway? It was a question of whether to go up to 3 or down to 2. And then, well, obviously, we were never going to go down to 2 while Sergino was lurking there. Now, without him, it sort of opened that door a little bit to let us think that we could go either way. And I think the consensus of opinion at the moment is definitely to come down.
And with the handicap weights coming out next Tuesday, are there any horses that you kind of have an eye on for some of the handicaps at the moment?
A lot of them is, will they get in? That's the first sort of big question mark. There's a cut-off point in all of them. It tends to not vary enormously historically. So you've got to first of all make sure that all the ones you want to run will get in, and a couple of hours could be skirmishing rather near the cut-off point. So that's the first thing. I could see two or three, well, a couple there that are going to get proper top weights. Hard to win.
The Potemps or something like that. Jericho de Repene and the Potemps potentially.
Well, he certainly wouldn't be top weight. He's actually had, he ran his qualifier the other day, and he's qualified as Doddy the Great. I was pleased with him on Saturday. He ran a very good race. He comes into it. Shanna Bob, Doddy, I think there's 5 that we have qualified. But the top weights, there's Impostoir, he's probably Coral and Martin Pipe. They're very similar races, really. So there's going to be a whole bunch of them which will need splitting up between the 2 races.
No, with all those options that you have, if you were to give us one horse that you'd say at this moment is your best chance of winning a handicap, who would you say that is?
Mr. Coffee.
In the cross country?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Everyone loves Mr. Coffee. Nicky, thank you very much. All the best in the lead up to Cheltenham and at the festival.
Thank you.
Cheers.